One more time. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, alright. Don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, don't stop the dancing. One more time. You know I'm just feeling celebration tonight. Celebrate. Don't wait too late. No, we don't stop. You can't stop. We're gonna celebrate. One more time. One more time. One more time. A celebration. You know we're gonna do it right tonight. Hey, just feeling. Music's got me feeling the need. Yeah. Come on. All right, we're gonna celebrate one more time. Celebrate and dance so free. Music's got me feeling so free. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time.
Good morning, everybody. That was, in case you couldn't tell, a little recap of Create this last week. We had a ton of fun. Some of the kids are here, and they can tell you about their experience if you want to ask them. From learning how to play chess or learning how to get better at playing chess, to making food together, to building garden art out of random materials and a whole bunch of other things. So we had a great week. And to those who are able to help us, thank you. Just obviously something like that doesn't happen without volunteers. And I know for me, as a volunteer, by Thursday at around 8 o'clock, I am about done. And so maybe you weren't feeling that. Maybe you were completely energized all the way through. But it is a gift of time and energy, and so thanks for doing that. Teresa is gone this weekend, and so if you're looking for her, you won't find her in this building. She's in Iowa with family, celebrating a big, momentous kind of occasion for her grandmother. So let me just say a couple things here as we get started this morning about what's coming up. Tomorrow night is AYA, which is something we've been talking about here for a bit. This is us going to their facility. If you haven't signed up, you still can. We're bringing food and we're making more food. That's essentially what we're doing. 5:30 to 7 is what we're saying, although I suspect we'll be done before 7 o'clock. We'll see. It won't be any later than that. Kids are welcome to join us for that. This is not an adult-only thing. So if you have young ones or old ones, this is a great chance for them to serve, for them to learn about an important agency in our city. So it would encourage you to bring them along. Fireside chats are starting in a couple of Tuesdays. They'll be every Tuesday in July, starting the 9th. So not this coming Tuesday, but the 9th is our first one through the end of the month, 7 o'clock at the Hairbolts. That's their address there. So you can remember that, or we'll also put it in Church Center, and you can find your way there as well. And then I'll say more about this at the end of our time together, but next Sunday we are not here in the building. We're going to be at Palmer Park, and I can pass these, or you can pass these around. It's a little map, but I'll say more about it when we are at the end of our morning together. Jeff Verkijk is going to lead us in a pretty unique experience together next Sunday, so don't come here. And if you're online, you can join us online, even though we won't be here. We'll be doing the whole thing, streaming it as well. And you'll be able to participate that way if that's what's best for you. All right, more about that. I'll give some details again at the end of the morning. I want to invite us to turn our attention here for a few minutes to a document that was at the end of your row. And if they haven't made your way down to people yet, you'll want to pass them down. And you may have to wander around. If your rows, pieces of paper have already been claimed, there's probably a row that has extras. So we belong to a denomination, and that denomination has what are called confessional documents. Confession, how do we use the word confession mostly in our kind of everyday lives when it's used? How do we use it typically? Yeah, it's negative. What does it imply? Something you've done wrong. You're confessing. A suspect confesses to the crime, right? But to confess something can also mean to say, this is what I believe. And that's the way that it's being used here. Just to be clear, confessional documents are not documents that are like stating what we've done wrong. They are documents to say, hey, this is what we believe. In this document, the Belhar Confession, let me just read kind of the top paragraph here to give you some context. This has its roots in the struggle against apartheid in southern Africa. First drafted in 1982 by the Dutch Reformed Mission Church. They officially adopted it in 1986, and it became one of the standards of unity of the new church that formed after apartheid. Belhar's theological confrontation of the sin of racism has made possible reconciliation among Reformed churches in southern Africa, and has aided the process of reconciliation within the nation of South Africa. So this comes out of apartheid, right? Decades long of systemic and intentional oppression. That's what apartheid was. And the church had a role, a very key role in upholding apartheid, okay? And in the 80s, as things begin to shift, as the world's attention turns to apartheid, as those within South Africa begin to maybe more closely examine the system that was in place, the churches had a come to Jesus moment that took years, you'll notice, right? But in the end ended up producing this document called Belhar. Its relevance is not confined to Southern Africa, however. It addresses three key issues of concern to all churches: unity of the church and unity among all people, reconciliation within church and society, and God's justice. The Belhar was adopted by our denomination in 2010. That may sound like, oh, well, that's nice that we did that. It is the only modern document that is a confessional document for our denomination. Our other 3 confessional documents, we only have 4 total, date back to the Reformation, to the 1600s. That's when those were written. So hundreds of years. In other words, confessional documents do not get adopted often, right? And it's a big deal, although it may not seem like it, or we may not maybe have kind of the context. I'm trying to give you the context to say this is significant. What I've done is put section 4 on the latter 2/3 of this piece of paper. The Belhar has 5 sections. You're welcome to read it on your own at your leisure. But today I want to invite you to just look at section 4. I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes to read through, or chat with the person next to you, or huddle up as a household if you like. And I want you to just ask yourself, what do you notice? What stands out to you? Is there a phrase or verse that resonates? And what does this confession call us to do? So a couple minutes here of time. Go at it, and then I'll invite us to just maybe share a thing or two that stands out to us that we noticed in these couple of minutes. Ready? Set, go. All right. Hopefully enough time to at least begin to read through some of this. And I'm curious, what stood out to you? What maybe resonated with you? I didn't mention, that about halfway through section 4, they have one of their points, and then at the end are all these scripture passages. Very typical in a confessional document that would be the case, because you're trying to say that the scriptures would, back this up. So what stood out to you? Yeah. that the church therefore must stand with those in any form of suffering or need. I probably didn't say that quite right, but that's what stood out to you? Yeah, thanks, Paige. It's quite a statement, isn't it? Says pretty clearly what we are called to do. And it's quite broad. Any. Stand by people in any form of suffering and need. What else stood out to you? Must witness against. What does that mean? Speak up, act. It's certainly not remaining quiet, which gives must witness against and strive against. Striving, interesting. I don't know what that. Well, what does that word imply to you? What meaning does the word strive carry? It's what the Olympians do. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're a never-ending reaching. That's a nice definition of striving. This is the call, according, as this document would see it. Anything else? I know there's something else. Anybody else want to share one more thing? Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So Dale mentions that very, very end, witnessing against all the powerful and privileged, and he's saying that's us. Yeah. I think this is something to ask. Yeah, Dev is asking, is this perhaps also something that speaks to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Who has power and privilege in that conflict? They do. Yep. Apartheid is used by most every human rights organization today, including Israeli human rights organizations, to speak of the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and this would be before Gaza. Yep. So if you go to Ramallah, which is kind of the de facto capital of the West Bank, you'll find a very large statue of Mandela, because he is a figure who Palestinians relate to and can find inspiration from, and there's a lot of synergy between South Africans and Palestinians, yes. And who's, of course, the privileged and the powerful in the apartheid of South Africa? It's the white Dutch people, in part. So pretty big deal for the people in power who had the privilege to say that the church must witness against when those who are privileged and powerful are seeking their own interest and thus control and harm others, right? Power and even privilege is not necessarily bad. It is how we use it, of course, and unfortunately often power and privilege are used to harm and control. And this document says the church must speak out against it. It's a powerful document, and I remember when our denomination was considering whether or not it would adopt it to be one of its confessional documents, I thought there's no way. A bunch of largely privileged white people, it's who the RCA mostly was, certainly 15 years ago when this was adopted. It took a little convincing and a lot of kind of soul searching for some folks. It wasn't the easiest of passages, but I'm glad that we did. And so maybe you do actually want to read the rest of the document, because it's pretty good stuff theologically. and it calls us to, I think, be the people that we all want to be. So I invite you. I offer that to you this morning. Of course. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I don't think we are collectively doing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, confessional documents. Well, this one in particular, the other three confessional documents in the RCA are less call to action and more just theological doctrine. It's not to say they don't say something about how we are to live. They do, and specifically so in places. This one, though, especially does. And I think it holds up a mirror to us and probably should make us ask some really hard questions about whether or not we're living into this, including us. You know, a church that probably thinks it is pretty aware and engaged. We should not be quick to just assume that this is about somebody else. So, yeah. This document, I think, creates dissonance. And that's not a bad thing if we're willing to let that dissonance reshape us and move us toward a more just world. So. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. They're aspirational in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Calling us to maybe what we are not yet. Good. It could be more ecumenical than the RCA. I don't know what other denominations have chosen to adopt it in this way particularly, but yeah. Come on, Wikipedia, what'd you tell us? Mm. Mm. Yeah. Later. Are they the other one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Outside of South Africa, yeah. Only two. Hmm. Perhaps. And yet power and privilege, is a tough thing to confess, which this document is doing quite clearly. So, all right, I'm going to end it there because we need to get to groups. Thanks for engaging in that and wanted to make you aware of it and invite you to consider it again as a tool and a resource. Groups, where are they? Well, you know where they are, most of them, I suspect, because they're groups that we've been doing in the past few weeks here. The silence group is staying in this room. If you are walking, Bethany's leading that group, and they are leaving from the narthex, that space back there. Here it is. Mm-hmm. The discussion group's in the cafe. Board games are in the basement. The only thing that's not on this list, infants, toddlers, pre-K meet in the nursery as well. What is not on this list is that if you maybe notice the mural that's right behind this wall here, that got started during Create. Alyssa, Becky, thank you so much. They are going to invite anyone who would like to help continue it today. And so if you would like to paint, here's the thing. I think young kids are welcome to do it. They just need to be aware that they need to be engaged, and it is going to be 40 minutes here of kind of hanging out and maybe painting and then maybe not painting for a little bit. So just parents, be aware of that, have that conversation. They're welcome to, though. I mean, we'd be happy to have them. I suppose if they were in the video game or board game thing, they could do that for a bit and then bounce upstairs, but that could get tricky too. Who's paying attention to where they're going? You get the idea. Yes, Amy. Chalk and bubbles outside with Amy. Yeah, so fun. A few options there for sure. board games, video games, painting, hanging out with Amy. And Amy, you guys are meeting in the nursery downstairs. Is that what you're doing to get started? To start? Let's just have a meeting spot where parents can go to and connect with you. Okay, we'll do the nursery. Sounds good. Adios. If you're online, you want to join us on Zoom for the discussion group, scan this QR code or text me, and we will get you into Zoom.